What's up, PMP? You got PokeAim here, and first off, big shoutouts to Tony Flagon, who did record this PO match for me versus St. Anger, and secondly, some of the words on the bottom are just a bit messed up, but that's just because the PO replayer was messing up. So anyway, it's standard match versus St. Anger. He's going to be leading off for the Powder. I'm leading off for my Azumarill. Going to go right for the Ice Punch, anticipating him to want to go on to Celebi. Now I'm going to switch out into my Politoed, as he ended up going out into Skarmory, because I know I can easily get up my rain. He actually ends up making a double switch into his Celebi, predicting just that. Good play on his part. So I'm going to switch out into my Jirachi just to combat his Celebi, as he actually ends up making another good play, U-turning on out there, back into his Hippowdon. So I know he's just going to go for the Stealth Rocks right here, so I'm going to do is just switch into my Donphan, knowing that I can immediately Rapid Spin them away as he does get them up. So he is going to get up his Stealth Rocks right here. I'm just going to go right for the Rapid Spin, as he actually ends up switching out into Starmie. And because I know that he knows I have a Gastrodon on my team, which easily walls Starmie, I know he's actually going to end up double switching into his Celebi, predicting me to go out into my Gastrodon. So instead of going out to Gastrodon, I'm actually going to switch into my Tornadus, anticipating that Celebi, as I do predict correctly, and I can easily go for the U-turn because I know he's not going to stay in, since Tornadus is... I'm a Tornadus and he's a Celebi, so I don't even have to explain that. Anyway, I do end up U-turning out versus a Hippowdon. Gonna go right back out into my Politoed just to get up the rain. I'm actually gonna switch into my Tornadus right here, predicting him to want to go out into his Celebi just to combat Politoed, since it is one of his immediate switch-ins to Celebi. So I'm actually gonna go for Focus Blast right here, anticipating him to go out into his Heatran just to take the predicted Hurricane or U-turn. So unfortunately for me, he does end up going to his Powder. I do get off a decent chunk though, but it doesn't matter because I know he's just gonna go for the Slack Off. So I'm going to switch into my Specs Gastrodon, as he does end up going for the Slack Off right here. And because I am Specs, I'm actually going to go for the Ice Beam, anticipating him to go out into Celebi. But because his Celebi is bulky, it's going to take it reasonably well, not too well at all, since it does do over half. I'm actually anticipating him to either go right for the U-turn or the Recover, or even the Earth Power if he does have it. So what I'm going to do is go for the Ice Beam again, because what I really want to do is coax him into staying in here and actually going for the Giga Drain. So that's exactly what I coaxed him into doing, because I am going to be able to switch out into my Tornadus, as he does do just that. And now I can easily go for the Specs Hurricane, even though sand is up and it's not likely that I'm going to hit. Just going to go for it anyway, as he actually ends up switching out into his Heatran. So I actually do end up hitting, does a hell of a lot to that Heatran, considering he does resist that. And I know he's not going to go for Fire Blast, because I have 3 water types on my team. So I knew he would go for either Earth Power, something along those lines, anything but Fire Blast, anything that wouldn't touch my Tornadus. So I end up staying in, as he actually ends up outspeeding me and going for the HP Grass, which does confirm to me that he has Scarf. So I'm actually going to switch out into my Jirachi just to take that predicted HP Grass, as he actually ends up switching out into his Hippowdon right here. So I can't stay in, going to go out into my Donphan, knowing that I can Rapid Spin away his hazards. But what I'm actually going to choose to do is go for the Ice Shard, anticipating him to want to go out into his Celebi just to take on my Donphan, because I knew he was at half health, which means that 2 Ice Shards could have potentially KO'd him depending on min-max damage. But fortunately for me, he did end up going out to Starmie, which means I can't stay in. Going to go on to my Gastrodon, as he does end up predicting just that, making a good play, going out into his Celebi, double switching into his Celebi yet again. So again, I can't stay in. Going to go out into my Jirachi, as he's actually going to end up going for the Giga Drain. And I could easily go for the Wish right here, but I kind of figured he would predict that and he would go out into his Heatran. So what I decided to do is actually go right for the Thunder, as he does end up switching directly into his Heatran. And the only reason he's probably directly switching is because I may have the U-turn, since some Jirachis, bulky Jirachis, do have U-turn, or because I could be sub-combo. He might be fearing that, so he doesn't want me to set up. But in any case, I am able to hit in the sand. I am able to get some paralysis going on. And I'm actually going to go on to my Politoed just to get up the rain. And now I'm going to switch out into my Jirachi, anticipating him to want to go out into his Celebi or something along those lines. He does end up going to his Celebi, which means I can easily either go for the Wish right here or double switch into my Donphan, predicting him to want to go out into his Hippowdon. So that's exactly what I do right here, because he does end up going directly out into his Hippowdon, which means I can easily Rapid Spin away those Stealth Rocks, which are annoying my team. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, as he actually ends up going out into his Celebi. I am able to Rapid Spin away those Stealth Rocks, and I'm actually going to switch out into my Jirachi, because he can easily combat this Celebi. And I don't want to go on to my Tornadus, just because it is running rather low on HP. So I am going to be able to go on to my Jirachi. I'm actually going to go for the Wish right here, as he's actually going to choose to either go for the U-turn or either switch out into his Hippowdon. He finally chooses to go for U-turn, knowing that I'm probably the special defensive variant. So he is going to go into his Hippowdon, as I am able to get up a Wish. I know that me switching to Tornadus is really obvious, so what I'm actually going to do is switch out into my Donphan, predicting him to go for the Roar, kind of hoping that he will roar me out into my Tornadus, that way I can get the Wish recovery. Unfortunately though, he does roar me out into my Gastrodon, which is still good for me, because I can easily go for the Specs, Ice Beam, or Surf to knock him out or do a hell of a lot to whatever he goes out into. Unfortunately, he does go on to Celebi, which means I'm going to have to switch out into my Jirachi right here, anticipating him to just go for the U-turn, even the Giga Drain. But unfortunately for me, he doesn't end up going on to his Apollon. What I'm actually going to do is I'm not going to stay in. I'm actually going to switch out into my Donphan just because I don't want him getting up with Stealth Rocks. Once again, my Tornadus is running rather low on HP, so I don't want the Stealth Rocks, you know, crippling that thing. So I'm going to go right for the Rapid Spin again, as he does end up going on to his Celebi. And now I'm not going to stay in right here. I'm going to switch out into my Jirachi once again to combat this Celebi, as he's actually going to choose to go for the Recover right here, which is great for me, which means I can get this free opportunity to go for the Wish or whatever I want to do. So he's going to end up U-turning out into his Apollon, as I am going to be able to set up a Wish. Now, because I didn't go into Tornadus before, he's probably not going to be predicting me to go out into it now. So he's actually probably going to go for the Stealth Rock. So what I'm going to do is switch directly into my Tornadus just to get up that Wish, as he does end up getting up his Stealth Rock, which is great for me because now my Tornadus is at a lot more HP. And I'm going to throw out my little surprise, which is Specs Grass Knot, and it does do a hell of a lot to that Apollon, as he is able to roar me out into my, what's the thing called? Jirachi, sorry about that. And now he's actually going to switch out. Still, he probably doesn't know if I'm either specially defensive or the Sub-Calm Mind, so I could have threatened him with Water Pulse right there and knocked him out, which is why he switched down to Skarmory. Kind of a weird play though, because I do Pack Thunder, but unfortunately for me, I do miss, as he is able to get up a Roost, and I don't want him getting up his hazards right here. So what I'm actually going to do is go out into my Donphan, knowing I can easily Rapid Spin away those Stealth Rocks or in Spikes, as he actually ends up predicting me to do just that. So he goes down to Celebi, another good play on my opponent's part. So I'm really happy that this battle is actually pretty good, because these are the type of battles I enjoy the most, the battles that are good like this. So in any case, I knew I could either take a Giga Drain, or if he wants to U-turn out, that would be great for me. So I'm actually going to go right for the Rapid Spin, as he doesn't go right for the Giga Drain. Now I'm actually going to switch into my Tornadus, knowing that once again I can combat this Celebi one-on-one. Unfortunately for me though, he does predict my switch, which is why he goes for the U-turn. U-turns out into a Starmie. Again, I don't want to predict with the Starmie just yet, because he could potentially go for the Thunderbolt and KO me. So I'm going to go right for the switch into my Gastrodon, as he actually ends up switching out into his Skarmory. But it doesn't matter, I am Specs Gastrodon, I can easily 2KO him with Surf. He does fear my 2KO him, so he's going to go on into his Celebi just to easily combat my Gastrodon. And I'm actually going to switch out into my Jirachi, knowing that I can, again, easily combat his Celebi. So he ends up U-turning out into his Heatran. Now, I'm going to do something that I don't advise anybody to ever do. I'm going to try and Iron Head flinch this Heatran, and this is what I get for being stupid, because he actually is able to break through the 60% chance, which is actually even higher because he is paralyzed, and he is able to Fire Blast me. So I'm going to switch out into my Politoed just to get up the rain, as he actually ends up switching into his Starmie, probably anticipating me to switch out into something like this. And I'm going to switch directly into my Gastrodon, anticipating him to want to go for the Thunderbolt, as he does end up doing just that. And again, I'm going to double switch into my Tornadus, anticipating him to want to go out into his Celebi. But he actually ends up going on to his Heatran as Death Fodder, probably anticipating me to want to go out into my Tornadus, so he just wants to get the free switch. So I am going to be able to knock out his Heatran with the Specs Hurricane. Now he's going to go out into his Dragonite. I'm kind of fearing him to be DD, so what I'm going to do is actually go onto my Politoed, knowing at this range I can take a +1 Outrage, because I am max defense and max HP. So he does end up going for the Dragon Dance. Kind of scary, because even though I am going to be able to live this Outrage and I'm rather low on HP, I'm going to go right for the Perish Song, and now I'm going to go for Protect, as he actually chooses to go for the Outrage again. Because there is 2 more songs of Perish Song, I'm actually going to have to fodder off my Jirachi, which is a bit unfortunate, because that was my main switch into his Celebi. So I did lose my Jirachi right here to the Outrage, but thankfully though, he is still locked into the Outrage, because I believe, because I protected, he did restart it. Don't quote me on that, don't even comment on that, because I don't really care, to be honest. But now, because he is on his last turn of Perish Song, he's still locked in Outrage, I can easily go into my Politoed, go for Protect, and the Perish Song, I guess, damage or whatever, will be able to knock him out. But in the case, now he's going to go on to Celebi. Gonna switch directly into my Tornadus, because since my Jirachi is gone, Tornadus is my switch into Celebi, and I'm actually going to go right for the Specs Hurricane, as he actually ends up switching out into Tapadon. So thankfully I do hit, which does essentially mean that the Weather War is mine. So his Tapadon does go down. Now I'm going to switch into my Politoed, as he actually ends up going out into a Starmie, because I want to get up my rain, since like I said, the Weather War is mine, so I just want my rain up, that way my Hurricanes are 100% accurate, as he actually ends up double switching out into a Celebi, probably predicting me to go on to Gastrodon, but then again, because there is no opposing weather on his side, just went into my Politoed, his father. So he is going to be able to knock me out with the Giga Drain, but it's fine, because now I get the free switch into my Tornadus, which can easily 2KO his Skarmory with the Specs Hurricane, because he is the physically defensive Skarmory. So Specs Hurricane on Tornadus plays no games. I am able to knock out his Skarmory with the second Hurricane. Now he's going to go out into his Starmie. Instead of going out into my Gastrodon as he was predicting, I'm actually going to fodder off my Donphan, kind of anticipating him to want to double switch into a Celebi just to try and catch my Gastrodon on the switching, because Gastrodon is one of the few things that is walling a Starmie. But no, I do end up switching out into my Donphan as he is going to be able to knock me out with the Gig Drain. And now I'm free to go out into my Specs Tornadus and fire off a Specs Hurricane. I do end up getting a crit on a Starmie. Didn't matter at all because max HP Starmie takes 100% damage from Specs Hurricane. So he's actually going to run right here because it's pretty much my game with Specs Hurricane. So that was a great game. St. Anger really had me on my toes because of all the double switches and stuff. I really enjoyed this match. If you guys enjoyed this match, you guys can feel free to check me out. Link will be in the description. And until next time, guys, later, PMP.